Hello everyone. We're going to be learning a little bit of solving exponential equations with the idea of use substitution. So let's go ahead and begin with this quick warm-up. So go ahead and find the solution of this logarithmic equation. So go ahead and pause the video and give this one a try. Okay, so hopefully you're able to see that you have a logarithm on one side and then you have a value on the other side. So whenever that happens, we're going to go ahead and use the snail method that I like to call it. But pretty much what we're doing is converting this equation into an exponential. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get my base of this log. The base of the logarithm will now become the base of this exponent, which is now going to be 2. So I have x plus 20 is equal to 4 raised to the second power. Okay, from here we can go ahead and simplify. X plus 20 is equal to 16, and I can go ahead and subtract 20 on both sides, and x is going to be 16 minus 20, which gives us our negative 4. Okay, so this is a possible solution. We're going to go ahead and substitute it back into our logarithmic, into our original question to make sure that this is indeed our only solution and that it is not an extraneous solution. So for this, we're going to go ahead and evaluate when x equals negative 4. So I have a log base 4, negative 4, right? Because I'm substituting it here, plus 20. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and find out that if this log is going to go ahead and indeed be if we're able to evaluate it. So in this case, yes, we can go ahead and find the log of base 4, 16, and indeed it does give us the 2. So that worked out. Okay. So let's go ahead and continue with today. So we're going to go ahead and start learning something called use substitution. And pretty much this is an idea that you can go ahead and use this to make the equation that you're working with a little bit easier. So you're going to pretty much rewrite the question in terms of u. Once you do that, you're going to solve for u and then substitute it back in. And ideally, that makes the question a little bit easier, especially if you continue to go to the upper maths like calculus. This is very, very helpful, especially for your derivatives and chain rule and integration. So pause the video, write this down, and we will get started. Okay, looking at a week at a glance, we're already on Friday, yay. Yesterday, I went ahead and updated the grades on 3.4 and 3.6. Keep in mind 3.6 is due today, but I just wanted to give the students that finished it, I went ahead and gave them their score along with a little bit extra, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and begin. Oh, before I forget, we do have an exam coming up. We have the ACT and the unit 3 on next Wednesday. So keep that in mind as you study this weekend. Okay, so let's go ahead and find our solution. So let me go and hide this right here. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin. So just by looking at this, we are thinking, oh snap, e raised to the 2x minus 5ex plus 6 equals 0. Now what I want you to know is that this right here looks pretty tough. However, it looks very similar to something we've done before. Hopefully you're able to see that this kind of reminds me of a quadratic equation, right? Except now I have these e to the x's, which make it look a little bit funny. But other than that, these e to the x's are not that bad, right? So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and let u equal e to the x. So we're going to start our use substitution. You're going to see it's not that bad. Now, if I have e to the x, which is we can see here on equations, we're going to go ahead and see that we can substitute this in here, and every time you see an e to the x, you're going to rewrite it with a u. So now this is going to be u to the second minus 5u plus 6 is all equal to 0. So notice how that right there was a little bit more easier to look at. And if you see it right here, this looks a lot more like our quadratic. So we can go ahead and factor this indeed. So let's go ahead and pause the video, give this a try, and try to factor this. Okay. If you forgot how to factor, keep in mind I made a little video that says how to factor if you find two numbers. In this case, those two numbers need to multiply times 6, right? Multiply times this number and add up to the factor b, which is -5. So this right here. Okay, so what numbers multiply to 6 and add up to -5? What two numbers multiply times 6? Multiply to each other to become 6 and add up to -5. So hopefully you're able to think about a 3 and a 2, where both of these must be negative. Okay, so -3 times -2 gave me my +6, and -3 times, if we add -3 minus a 2, it gives me the -5. The next thing we're going to go ahead and do is solve for u. Okay, so that's not that bad. We're going to go ahead and get u minus 3 equals 0 and u minus 2 equals 0. From here, we're going to go ahead and solve for it. So I add 3 on both sides, right? So u is equal to 3. And in this case, if I add 2 on both sides, I get that u is equal to 2. Okay. Now, the last step is going to be to substitute everything back. So remember, at the beginning, we solved the question for u. But remember, that's not the question they asked us. They asked us this question in terms of x. So we're going to go ahead and substitute it back. And we're going to go ahead and say that u is equal to e to the x, which is what we said originally. So we're doing backwards. Now, every time we see u, we're going to go ahead and replace it back. So it's going to be e to the x, right, because we had a u, is equal to 3, and e to the x is equal to 2. Now, I'm going to go ahead and give myself more space. So I'm going to write all of this over here, and I'm going to go ahead and see if I can hide this right here, my video panel. Let's give myself more space. All right, cool. So I'm going to go ahead and give myself more space. E to the x is equal to 3, and e to the x is equal to 2. All we have to do now, guys, is solve for x. Solve for x, right? And that should give us our final answer. That should go ahead and work out. The only thing that I want you to know is that there's an identity we've been using this week, and that is ln of e. What does ln of e equal to? Hopefully you remember that ln of e is a property. They are inverses of each other, and they equal to 1. Okay. Keep in mind that the same goes for e raised to the ln of x. Keep in mind that is also inverses, and you're just left with your 1 times x, right? You're just left with this insides. So these two properties, can't forget them, guys. It should be in your notes. Alrighty. So how do we apply this? How does this help? Well, you actually just introduce logs on both sides. So I'm going to go ahead and say ln e to the x is equal to ln of the 3. So everything just became the inside of the ln's, or the logs, right? Keep in mind, with the rule of exponents, you can bring that x to the front. So I got x ln of e, ooh, nice, and ln of 3. So now it's all piecing it back together, and we can get to go ahead and get our highlighter, and we can see that we have the identity present itself, ln of e. So let's go ahead and see that x is equal to ln of 3 as my solution. So this is a solution. Okay, so I want you to do the same idea with this one right here. So go ahead and pause the video and give that a try. So we have ex equals 2. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and introduce ln's to both sides. So now I have ln of 2 on the right-hand side. And with the rule of the power rule, I can go ahead and see that this right here becomes the exponent. So x ln of e is equal to ln of 2. Okay, so far so good. Now we can go ahead and see that this entire number, ln of e, are inverses, so they go ahead and equal to 1. So I'm left with x is equal to ln of 2. Okay, so this right here is your other solution, and both of these are the real solutions. Okay, so pretty much we used substitution to solve for this entire function in terms of u, right? Then we substituted it back, keep in mind these two properties. And from there, last but not least, we went ahead and solved for our x. And then we just checked that they were real solutions because we can find an answer for ln of 3 and we can find an answer for ln of 2. So far it's not that bad. Let's go ahead and try another example. So I challenge you guys to go ahead and pause the video and give this a try. And sorry if you can hear some noise. They are building the school behind me. So you can hear the bulldozers. Alrighty, so first step that you should be thinking about is u is equal to e to the x. Okay, so let's go ahead and give that a try. And I rewrite everything every time I see e to the x. E to the x. I can go ahead and rewrite it as a u. Don't forget that this was a 2, so it's going to be squared minus 7u plus 10 equals 0. So from here, we're going to go ahead and factor it out. So we can go ahead and see that this can now be broken into factored form, u minus something or plus something that multiplies times u minus something or plus something. So we're looking at two numbers, right? A times b, that equals 10, and a plus b must equal to negative 7. So what numbers do you guys think it's going to go ahead and work out for us? So pause the video, give those a try, and hopefully you're able to see 5 and 2, where both of them have to be negative. Remember, the bigger number keeps the sign that the function originally had. And then you just need to make sure that it works. Okay, so let's go ahead and solve for this. So we're going to go ahead and solve for u. So in this time I got u minus 2 equals 0 and u minus 5 equals 0. So from here I got a plus 2, so u is equal to 2. And in this case we're going to do it a little bit quicker to save time. U is equal to 5, right? And move the 5 over to the right. Okay, now all we have to do is substitute back. Substitute back my u equals e to the x. Okay, so from here I got that e to the x equals 2 and e to the x is equal to 5 because I substituted these right here. Okay, alrighty, so keep in mind we will be presented with these identities, so make sure you have them down somewhere on your notebook. Alrighty. Save this as well. Okay, so these should be somewhere on your notes. Okay, cool. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and continue with the following. So now we want to go ahead and solve for x. So if I am given ex, I'm just going to rewrite it to make it nicer, and ex is equal to 5. Okay, all I have to do now is I have to go ahead and introduce ln's on both sides. So I got ln of e to the x is equal to ln of 2. Okay. With the product rule, the power rule, we can go ahead and get this x, bring it to the front. X is equal to ln, e is equal to ln of 2. This is super cool because now we can see this identity present itself. Then we have, and that bulldozer is going hardcore with the turbo. We have the following right here. Let's go ahead and go with dark blue. So we have that x is equal to ln of 2. And that works out because I can evaluate ln of 2. And the next one says e to the x is equal to 5. So if I introduce ln's on both sides, I get that ln of x, e to the x is equal to ln of 5. And I can go ahead and bring this x to the front. So I get x times the identity right here is equal to ln of 5. That's not that bad because we know that all of this right here isn't equal to 1. So x is equal to ln of 5. And that might be the worst marker I got. So let me go ahead and rewrite that with a different color. So let me see, red. So the answer was x is equal to ln of 5. and this other one ln of 2. You put parentheses to make it nicer. Okay, alrighty. The meme that I have for you guys, well, super hot fire, right? So keep in mind, when I was in high school, this was like the coolest YouTube guy ever. So just bringing it back old school. Alrighty, the last one. But in all seriousness, you do have to check that your solution actually works by checking for the extraneous solution. Okay, so let's go ahead and work with this one right here. I'm gonna go ahead and go a little bit faster since we've seen them already. So I got u squared minus 2u minus 8 equals 0. All because I let u equals this right here. Okay, from here, it shouldn't be that bad to go ahead and factor this one out. We have this right here. So we're looking for two numbers, right? Two numbers that multiply to be -8 and add up to be, what am I doing? To be -2. It's supposed to be b. Okay. Alrighty, so what two numbers multiply to be -8 and equal -2? So go ahead and pause the video and find those solutions. So you should have come up with what numbers? Okay, oh, I blanked out. But you should have come up with, what am I blanking out? Awkward silence. 4 and 2. Okay, so you should have come up with 4 and 2. And from here, we need to go ahead and see that the 4 is going to be negative because this sign is negative, and this should be positive to give us that -8. Ooh, that was a good one. Okay, so from here, we're going to go ahead and solve for u. So in this case, we got u plus 2 equals 0, and u minus 4 equals 0. So if we solve for this, we get that u is equal to -2, and u is equal to 4. Okay, so far so good. The next thing that we have to do is substitute back our u equals e to the x. So e to the x is equal to -2, and e to the x is equal to 4. So normally we've had them equal positive, but now they're equal to a negative. So I wonder what that's going to do, right? So let's go ahead and give that a try. And we get to see that we have these functions. So we're going to go ahead and see if I can fit this in right here. If not, I'll move it over. So we're going to go ahead and solve for e to the x. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say that I'm going to introduce ln's on both sides. And that gave me this right here. Keep in mind that we have an exponent, and because of the power rule, I can bring it to the front. X ln of e is equal to ln of -2. So from here, I get to see my identities. All of this was equal to 0. I'm sorry, 2 equal to 1. So x is equal to ln of -2. Okay. The next one says that this right here says that we can go ahead and introduce our ln's on both sides. We got ln of 4. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same rules that I already had, which told us the power rule, x ln of e equals ln of 4. Okay, and hopefully you're still recognizing the identity, the ln of e, that is equal to 1, so x is equal to ln of 4. So we have these two solutions. However, only one of this is a real solution. ln of 4, that works. ln of -2, that does not exist. That does not exist. That is an extraneous solution. And the reason for that, and we can go ahead and graph it right here. I'll go ahead and graph an exponential, and I'll go ahead and graph a logarithmic function. And we get to see, let's go ahead and do it in red. So we can send out an exponential looks like so, just the parent function. And a logarithmic looks like so. Okay. For our log, I want to go ahead and ask you guys that, is there something here? Is there any graph here for the log? And given that this right here is our log function. And I should have probably done it in a different color. My bad. All of this right here. Ooh, on point. Yeah, it's kind of, there's no function here, right? This is all the negative side on the domain. And we can see that this right here at -2, there's no graph. That's why it does not exist. The same thing goes when we're talking about these right here for our exponential. We look at all of this below the x-axis. All of this right here is negative for the y's. So when y equals the -2, there was no graph, right? There's no graph at all. These are all question marks, FYI. So that's the reason I'm going to go ahead and tell you that this right here will not be a valid solution. It does not exist. It is the extraneous solutions that I was talking about. Okay. For the homework activity, guys, I'll go ahead and do one with you. I'll go ahead and do this one. For the homework activity, you do have a log base 2x is equal to 3. You go ahead and solve for these guys, and you're going to go ahead and color it the associated color that they gave you. So like this right here is how you're going to go ahead and color that associated number solution. All right, so I get my 2. It becomes the base of the 3. So x is equal to 2 raised to the 3rd. So therefore x is equal to 8. So I'm going to go ahead and look at my solutions, right? Because these are my questions. And I'm going to go ahead and find an 8, and I see it over here, right? This right here is my 8. And I'm going to try to do it this color right here, this little shapes that they gave me. So the first part's not that bad, half the square. So I'm going to just try to draw it as best that I can. Okay. And then the next thing, it's just a little tiny edge, right? So on the quadrant number 2 here, something like that. So that's all you're doing, guys, to find out the shape that this will draw once you go ahead and color it. This is already on your digital notebook under the handouts page, and it is also under the assignments tab. Okay, so that is all that I have for us today, and hopefully you guys have a good rest of your day. As always, it's been a pleasure, and thank you.